Have you ever found yourself in a situation where there was something from your past that you were holding on to, like you weren't able to forgive yourself for? Think about what that thing is, and then also think about how did it impact you? How did it impact your future? Right? And so I want to share my experience with that because this segment is about forgiving yourself. I remember previously there was just a lot of things that happened, a lot of things that I did in relationships, just a lot of silly things that we do when we're immature, when we don't know better, when our self-esteem is not where it needs to be. Just really poor decisions that were made in relationships. And so because of those decisions that I made, I didn't recognize who I was, right? And after getting saved, there was shame that came along with the things that I decided to do. There was a lot of just disappointment in myself because now I'm in a space of like knowing better. So I'm doing better. But the reality was those things that happened before, I was still like rehearsing them. So sometimes we can find ourselves in a space where we're rehearsing those things, and it becomes just this cycle, this pattern in our thinking. And what ended up happening to me specifically is I began to, the level of shame I experienced impacted my future thinking. So I got to a point where I was like, there is no way I'm gonna get married. Like, I don't deserve God to bless me with a husband. I don't deserve this, or I don't deserve that because I did X, Y, and Z. So whatever your X, Y, and Z is, it doesn't matter how long that list is, whatever that is, it has the ability to impact your future, the way you even look at your future. Because in my mind, none of these things were even remotely a possibility because of the behaviors and the decisions I made previously, right? So what happens, unforgiveness is literally like poison. Think about poison in your body and how it spreads, right? It spreads and it turns into other things. It morphs into bitterness. Unforgiveness can morph into self-hate. And so why I am, it's almost like eating yourself, it's eating you alive internally. Those emotions, holding on to something that is like literally killing you. That's what it's like to not let go of unforgiveness. And so here I am, newly saved. I'm a believer. And even if you're not a believer, unforgiveness is still wreaking havoc internally in your body, in your emotions. It is causing undue damage. So we have to heal in that place. I literally had to do some extensive healing because the reality was I had been holding on to unforgiveness for so many years. It came to a point where this became a part of who I was. It became a part of my identity. I didn't know who I was separate from that thing. Because I didn't know how to even let it go. So it was like, I remember journaling, how do I forgive Candace? What does that look like? I remember writing down those questions because I literally had no idea, right? No idea at all. And so I'm not a person that holds grudges with other people. I'm always quick to, fix something if our relationship is broken, make amends. Yeah, that's the phrase I'm looking for. I'm always the type that will make amends, but the reality was I did not know how to make amends with myself. And it was literally killing me. It was derailing my future because I knew, because I believed Marriage was not an option. I didn't deserve marriage. I didn't deserve to be loved. Or other things I believed along those lines. Like I didn't deserve a good man, or I didn't deserve X, Y, Z. Whatever it is that you're rehearsing and telling yourself that you deserve. These were powerful words I was saying to myself. And I was holding on to them like they were my truth. And so it is so true that what we speak out of our mouths is powerful. It literally can come to life. It can manifest, right? And so just begin to think about the things that you have been speaking over your life. Like, I don't deserve this. I'm not good enough for this. Whatever thing kind of comes to mind that you've noticed that you said, I want you to begin to write those things down. Catch yourself as you're saying them and write them down. I used to keep a note on my phone. You know, we typically always have our phones. So if you're not a pen and paper type of person, keep that running tab note on your phone and write down every negative thing that you're saying to yourself, because these are these thoughts that you believe, like you're believing, that you're taking them on as truths. And what happens is our actions then begin to respond to those as truths, right? So with that mindset that I had, if my husband had showed up in that moment to like approach me, I probably would have not engaged with that person, because because my mind told me I don't deserve somebody like that. I don't deserve a good man. I'm not good enough for that person. So I would have missed the window that was scheduled for me by God because of my own mindset, because of my own unforgiveness. So this is why it's so important to heal, to do the work to heal. I actually went to counseling, I went to therapy, and most importantly, I got before God. You know, I began to, so part of my process, I wasn't always someone who liked to journal or liked to write. That came when I became an adult. And so I began to write. So that question I told you I wrote in my journal, how does Candace heal? What does that look like for me? I literally wrote that question in my journal. And so my journal, and this is my prayer journal as well. So I like write prayers. And it's not, the thing about it, when I say prayers, I'm not talking about you have to have the right words or the perfect dialect. I'm literally, how does Candace heal? What does that look like? God, I'm talking to God like I'm talking to my best girlfriend. You know what I'm saying? We have to get away from just that perfection, like, oh, you have to approach God, or prayer sounds a certain way. God desires your authentic self. He already knew that there was unforgiveness in my heart, right? And so he had to wait until I was ready to deal with it. And so I took that back to him of like, I need to address this, because unforgiveness, it hinders our lens. So I couldn't see correctly. I couldn't see what it is that I needed to see from a healthy vantage point. And so as these layers begin to be peeled back, it was hard. I had to face some truths, right? I had asked God for forgiveness. He had forgiven me, but there was so much condemnation. Condemnation is not from the Lord. There was condemnation from the enemy, because the enemy wanted me to remain trapped in unforgiveness. That's not where God wanted me. So I was literally a prisoner in my own mind, in my own body, in my own emotions, because of unforgiveness. And like I said, it begins to eat away, and you start to feel bitter and just all of these other emotions, low self-worth, all of these other things start to come up. So how did I address that? I began to, a couple things I did. Like I said, I did go to therapy. And I was working with my therapist on that specifically. In my own time, you can Google, you can use the Bible app, those scriptures that spoke specifically to forgiveness, that talk about, God has forgiven us. So if God has forgiven me, why am I holding on to it? He's the knower of all. He's the supreme of the supreme. So if he is moved on, there's something in me. There's something flawed in me that's preventing me from moving on. Because I need to be where he is. I need to be on his level, right? As far as forgiveness. He forgave me, so I need to forgive me. So it was just work that had to go into that to heal the way I was looking at my situation. Because the reality was, we all was out here wilding before Christ. That's just what it was. Some of us even a little after. You know what I'm saying? Like, I could not hold on to that. I had to release it. So I challenge you, anybody who is holding on to unforgiveness from your past, you do not want to remain prisoner there. There is more for you. God has so much more for you, but you have to break free of the bondage of unforgiveness. You have to. You can't stay right there. You just can't. So I challenge you to write down every thought that comes up. What are those things that you have not forgiven yourself for? What are those things that you have married yourself to that you have that are now a part of your identity? It's almost like we have glorified that place. We have glorified that thought. We have taken it as truth, and we have to denounce it. We have to divorce it. And so because our mouths are so powerful, we literally can use our mouths. Use our mouths to declare, I divorce unforgiveness. I've been struggling with, think of something. Whatever that thing is you haven't gave yourself for, I divorce this thing. It no longer has rule or authority over my life or over my emotions. Jesus is Lord over my life and over my emotions. Jesus has forgiven me. So God, help me to walk in forgiveness of myself, because you have forgiven me. I am forgiven. And I speak against the place of condemnation that tries to replay that thing. I declare that it be washed with the blood of Jesus. We literally have to use our mouths to speak against that thing, because unforgiveness, again, can set deep roots in you. Literally can set deep roots in you. And those things have to be dug up. If you think about the roots of a tree, and mind you, I have been struggling with this, let's say 5 years. And if you think about how trees mature, how they get so thick, when you're dealing with a thick tree that has matured over several years, the roots are thick roots. Roots are strong. So roots have the power to tear up your sewer line, your pipes to your home. Roots have the power to destroy that. They have the power to clog and cause all sorts of chaos. So if you think about the roots of unforgiveness and the fruit that it can produce, now we're talking about some damage. And this is damage that these roots are producing underground. So people may not even see on the surface that you're struggling with unforgiveness. I bet people wouldn't have thought that about me. I'm happy as I want to be, in bondage to unforgiveness, because I did not know how to forgive myself, right? So it wasn't what people were saying, it was what was happening underground, right? Like, that's like, wow. So now that I'm walking in a place of healing, and also I want to say this, even when you say that prayer, you make that declaration out of your mouth, that doesn't mean that thing is not going to come up next week, right? Walking in forgiveness is a forward motion. So even when that thing comes up, I know that I've been forgiven. I know that I've been forgiven. Sometimes I have to say that out of my mouth. I know that I've been forgiven. Because what happens is the enemy is just trying to look for a door. He's trying to look for another opportunity to push that conviction on you again. It's really your decision. Are you gonna fall into it? Are you going to declare, I know that I've been forgiven, and move forward? And so with this process of forgiving myself for the things that I've done, it has now allowed me to see myself in a different light, right? To see myself as God created me. Like, God created me. I'm so special to God. And he's so concerned about everything that's concerning me, right? And marriage is a desire. Marriage is a desire of mine. So if marriage is a desire of yours, I give that desire to the Lord, constantly giving it to the Lord, ensuring that my desires are aligned with his, because his word says he will give you the desires of your heart. But make sure your desires are aligned with the Lord. And that's as simple as saying, God, help me to align my desires with you. Anything that is not like you, remove it. Hallelujah. Every desire, may it align with the Lord. And so that's my continued declaration. And so God does all things well. I believe that he created this space for me. He created this place where unforgiveness had to come up. It had to come up now so that I can deal with it. Because what we not gonna do, people, we're not taking unforgiveness into our next relationships. We're not taking unforgiveness into our marriage. We're not doing that. We're not doing that. I desire to walk in a place of a kingdom marriage, which requires levels of forgiveness. Just as kingdom people in general, the Bible talks about forgiving multiple times. So forgiveness is a part of that journey. And so I'm grateful. I know it didn't feel like it in the moment, but I'm grateful that it came up in my single season so that I'm able to deal with it. Because like I mentioned before in a previous video, I want to be a whole wife when my husband finds me. Whole as in WHOLE. I want to be whole. I want there to be wholeness in me. And not that I'm still battling unforgiveness and taking those emotions and misplacing them within the dynamics of marriage. So in your single season, I just encourage you to do the inner work on you, asking the Lord to search your heart, because I did not readily see that I was struggling with unforgiveness. It was something that the Lord had to show me, and he had to show me in time. Meaning, if he would have showed me this, year one, I don't know if I would have been able to stomach that. I probably would have buried it. God is so gentle that he will show us things when we can handle it. The word talks about him not putting more on us than we can bear. So it was over time, these layers began to be pulled back, and he began to reveal certain things about myself to me, even things I was like, whoa, that's not me. But yes, it was me. Yes, it was me. He was showing me. And sometimes that's a reality check that we need. So in your single season, I encourage you to pursue Christ, because that's how you're going to see what it is that you need to see. That's where the veil is going to be removed. That's where revelation is going to be gotten. Like, draw closer to God. just for you. This time, I've learned that this time is for me. This time is for me and God, me and God. You know, so draw closer to him, whatever that looks like for you, because he knows all things. He knows when it's the perfect time for our mate. So be in the hallway preparing. That's Be in the hallway preparing, baby, because when he gets this whole woman, when that man of God get this whole woman, baby, he's gonna be a blessed man. He's gonna be a blessed man. But just do the work. That's my 2 cents. Do the work. This is a heavy work, but it's so much better to do the work before marriage than to be blessed with a marriage and you don't know how to maintain it because the character, there is some flaws in your character. And don't get me wrong, none of us are perfect, but this is something that I can prevent before going into a marriage. I can clean that up before. So take that nugget and just apply it. Apply it. Pursue wholeness, but to pursue wholeness in Christ. And he gonna clean all this up in the inside. Because there are not gonna be any hindrances when it is your time. You're going to be prepared. You're going to be prepared, baby. You gonna be ready. Ready and in place. Right? I want to be found in place. I want to be found as already a wife. Not that I am I'm getting ready. Baby, I'm gonna be found ready. Okay? So let's do the work and let's heal together.